call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular session of the Black Mountain Board of Aldermen for January 2013. This time I'd like for us to stand and do a pledge of allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're honored tonight to have Pastor Christopher McPhail from the Tabernacle United Methodist Church with us. Pastor.
Let us pray. Most gracious God, we come before you this evening, thankful for giving us a town in which we can live, work, and play. A beautiful place in which we're able to share with the world what all happens here. And as we come together this evening, we ask that you give us discernment to be able to use our words, or when we need to hold our tongue as well. For gracious God, your peace is among your spirit, and so we ask for that very peace to be among us this evening as we continue to move and grow as you direct us. For be among the leaders here, oh God, and allow them to feel of your presence and your guidance of each and every day. Keep us always close to you and directed by you. For it is in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Pastor, I hear you're being deployed again?
Yes, sir. We wanted to be. I'll be there for a year as base chaplain.
We miss you. Appreciate the work you've done here, and our thoughts and prayers will be with you.
Thank you, sir.
We do, under announcements, we do have the Martin Luther King Jr. Prayer Breakfast coming up. That's February the 2nd at Lifeway Ridgecrest Conference Center in Ridgecrest. Breakfast will begin at 9 o'clock, and patron tickets are $35. Most of that money goes to the scholarship fund. We encourage you to be a patron. But also, if you just want to go for breakfast, adults are $12. Children 10 and under are $5. I will be out of town that weekend, and Vice Mayor Rayburn will be giving greetings from the town for that meeting. We do have some agenda changes. There is no new business on the agenda tonight. In our agenda session, we had some, and it's been changed. For tonight, we have no new business. This time, I'd like to read a proclamation honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. inspired millions of Americans to participate in nonviolent protests to support the ideals of equality for all, and was a motivating force behind the civil rights movement that had as its goal the creation of a society tolerant of all races, cultures, and nationalities. And whereas the ideals of Dr. King and of Black Mountain's commitment to human rights are worthy of reflection and serve as a reminder that improving the quality of life for all members of our community is a responsibility of every citizen. And whereas the celebration of Dr. King's birthday is intended as a time for all Americans to reaffirm their commitment to the basic principles that underlie our Constitution, equality, and justice for all. And whereas the town of Black Mountain encourages all citizens to rededicate themselves to the principles of respect for human rights and freedom, of belief in nonviolence, and of commitment to improving our community through community service and volunteerism. Now, therefore, I, Carl Bartlett, Mayor of the town of Black Mountain, on behalf of the Board of Aldermen and the citizens of Black Mountain, wish to honor and do proclaim Monday, January 14, 2013 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The town of Black Mountain again will honor Dr. Martin Luther King at the 23rd Annual Swannoa Valley Prayer Breakfast, Saturday, February 2nd, 2013, hosted by the local Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Corporation. Each year, scholarships are awarded to local recipients who have applied and made it through the selection process. The challenge that scholarship pose include critical thinking and compassionate actions. And I commend that committee on the work they've done and the success they've had in developing these scholarships and being able to help our young people of the community. This time we'll have citizen comments. The first person is Phil Bessette.
May I please pass and hear the other two first?
I guess so. Tom Gill.
Good evening, my name is Tom Gill. I live at 110 Walnut Street over by Lake Tomahawk. And as chair of the Town Square Steering Committee, I'd like to come before you this evening and just deliver this report to the board here. Mayor and Board, I'm pleased to update you this evening about what is happening with the Town Square project. On December 7th, Holly Jolly began with the official lighting of the town Christmas tree located on Town Square. Refreshments were available, as was the Owen High School marching band, who played some Christmas carols while the crowd waited for Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus to arrive. We wish to thank you, Mayor Bartlett, as well as the Board of Aldermen, for being present for this historic event. Aside from strong winds that blew the tree over a couple of times, it stood tall and proud through the Christmas season, greeting all who came through the center of town. Beginning in September of 2012, committee members have met personally with over 160 people who have expressed an interest in contributing significant amounts to the Town Square project. Of those visited, several gifts in excess of $10,000 have been received and others have been pledged. An anonymous donor pledged $30,000 to be given when construction begins. Another local donor has verbally committed to a significant naming opportunity gift, which should be announced within the month. To date, outstanding pledges amount to about $86,195.58. So far, $147,478.32 in cash has been received. Another donor has contributed a bequest of $242,000 toward funding a $500,000 endowment for keeping the property in tip-top shape. Through the Parks and Greenways Foundation, we are able to receive stocks as well. Our team has also been working very hard on securing grants from various foundations and organizations. Among what has already been submitted, we are in the process of finalizing the following grant applications: the Gannett Foundation for a $5,000 grant, the Blue Ridge Foundation for an $18,000 grant, and Buncombe County Tourism and Development Authority for a $750,000 grant. Until now, we have been working somewhat behind the scenes to secure as much toward the total goal of $2 million as possible. Within the next 2 weeks, we plan to bring the campaign public and engage the entire community to complete the fundraising process. To that end, several naming opportunities are available for individuals, families, and businesses, including park benches, picnic tables, and garden areas. We also have multiple levels of bricks available. Our goal from the beginning has been to make it possible for everyone in Black Mountain to participate in this historic project. Brick pricing is as follows, and all these bricks are 2 inches thick. Red clay 4x8 brick with up to 3 lines of engraving at $50. Granite 4x8 bricks with up to 3 lines of engraving, $200. Granite 8x8 bricks with up to 6 lines of engraving, $500. Granite 8x16-inch bricks with up to 7 lines of engraving with no logo or symbol, $1,000. Granite 8x16 bricks with 5 to 7 lines of engraving with a logo or symbol, $2,500. Granite 16x16-inch bricks with up to 12 lines of engraving with no logo or symbol, $2,500. And granite 16x16-inch bricks with 8 to 12 lines of engraving and a logo or symbol, $5,000. I've got also, as part of your packet, a sample of what the brick sizes would look like with the engraving on them. On behalf of the Town Square Steering Committee, I wish to express our gratitude to this board for your ongoing support in helping to bring this once-in-a-lifetime project to pass. Thank you. Respectfully submitted, Tom Gill, Chair, Town Square Steering Committee.
Any questions, Tom? I think I'm correct in this. The tax covenant that you're allowed to give from the IRA to 501c has been extended until January 30th without being taxed if you want to give it directly from an IRA to a 501c.
I was not aware of that. That's great news.
It will end after January 31st, is my understanding. Somebody could reaffirm that with their accountant, or you could reaffirm it with H&R Block or someone, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct. We heard a presentation on that last week at the once.
That's great.
So that's, I believe I'm up to date on it.
Thank you very much.
Tom?
Yes.
I know that the master plan is not completed, of course, it's only conceptual at this point. But I would be fair to say that it will include a couple of restrooms.
Yes.
And those restrooms, based on where that you got it located now, are kind of right across from the steps going into the police department.
That's correct, right at the top.
Right where the dumpsters used to be.
Yes. We figured it'd be close to water right there.
And so that, so you wouldn't have, that footprint is only probably what, 20 by 30?
For the restrooms?
Yeah, 25 by 40 at the most. I mean, that's 1,000 square feet, which is a house.
Yes, I don't believe it's that size, around 20 by 30, I believe would be that. It was not a large space.
Well, I mean, it's just my suggestion, and I think that it would go a long ways towards cementing this idea that we're going to get this thing done, instead of waiting till we get all the money, that to participate in using some of this money that you got at the $147,000 to get that plan, to get that designed, and to get it built this year, even if you didn't do anything else on that. I would highly suggest that your committee talk about that. I'm glad to hear that you've got the fundraising for the bricks too.
Yes.
But I mean, here would be as something substantial for the community to see and for the community to use. I mean, it would certainly help with the tourists that are in town. It will also help facilitate businesses.
Yes.
I'd like to have it help. I just want to throw that out.
Well, that's a good suggestion.
Instead of waiting for this whole thing to be done, that's one part right there that really wouldn't adversely affect whatever the design was in the rest of it. But to get that done right away.
One of the things that we have, I think John has sent Matt an email, and he also talked to Dean about this. We're trying to secure the survey that was done when the town bought the property. That way, and if we can't find that, we'll need to get a survey done. That way we can take into consideration the footprint change because of the road and everything else that's going to happen through there. So that is the very next thing that's on our plate. And it's in preparation for doing exactly what you said, finding those things that we can build out right away and get moving on it.
Good. Thanks. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Mary Standard.
My name is Mary Standard, and I reside at 118 Shenandoah Terrace, Montree. So I thank the town of Black Mountain for this opportunity to stand before you during this time of public comment. On Wednesday, February 13th at 7 p.m., the State of North Carolina Utilities Commission will hold a public hearing on an application to build a massive solar farm on the Ridgecrest property owned by Lifeway Christian Resources. The hearing will be held in District Courtroom Number 1 in the basement of the Buncombe County Courthouse. This application is for a 200-acre, 90,000-panel, $65 million solar farm. This will be the first public hearing on a solar farm application ever held by the Commission in the state of North Carolina. No applications have ever been denied. I am concerned that solar farms are being built too big and too fast, and that they may one day become a burden to the taxpayers of Buncombe County, Black Mountain, and North Carolina. An informational meeting on solar farms was held by the County Extension Office in Catawba County, North Carolina on November 5th, 2012. According to the summary report of this meeting, companies installing solar farms in North Carolina do not have to be state certified, licensed, or bonded. They do not have to fund escrow accounts in case the project is left uncompleted. Furthermore, almost every solar farm applicant in North Carolina is a newly formed limited liability corporation. Little can be done if the project is abandoned at any point during the project, or if the company simply no longer exists at the end of the 25+ year life expectancy of the solar panels. Maroon Out LLC, the applicant company, was incorporated December 9th, 2011 in the state of New Mexico and states it will be self-certified. Despite statements to the press that the project won't be seen from I-40, no engineering studies have been conducted for this Ridgecrest project. And as late as this past October, Mr. Oglesby, the spokesman for this New Mexico-based company, has never even been to see Ridgecrest. Despite not a single engineering dollar having been spent, 6 parcels have been depicted on a map of the Ridgecrest property to show the location of the solar panels, and the project has received, quote unquote, the go-ahead from the North Carolina Environmental Clearinghouse, requiring only erosion and stormwater permits. This massive solar project includes heavily forested steep grades on both sides of I-40. What will be the effect of 200 acres of impervious solar panels replacing 200 acres of forest land in this location? On January 2nd, I called the Buncombe County landfill. I asked, how do I dispose of a solar panel? The answer was, I don't know. No one has ever asked that question before. In the Catawba County Extension report, it states there is little planning for what to do with these panels once they are no longer useful. If we don't know what to do with one solar panel, what will happen with 90,000? Will we have a 90,000 solar panel, kudzu-covered junkyard in Ridgecrest? How many in the state of North Carolina? Will we be forming community advisory groups like our friends and neighbors in Swannanoa Township in some 25 to 30 years to determine how to get rid of abandoned solar panel farms? Will they become a tax burden? Despite the massive size and the cost of the Ridgecrest Solar Farm, in the application before the Utilities Commission, the company states, I quote, due to the fact that solar is an intermittent energy source, the maximal dependable capacity for all systems is 0 megawatts. Yes, you did hear me correctly. 0 megawatts of dependable energy. We all understand that when it's a dark, rainy night and the sun is not shining, no energy is produced. But really, the applicant states 0 dependable megawatts? I leave you with these 2 questions. Will we have destroyed 200 acres of western North Carolina mountains in return for 0 megawatts of dependable energy? And will solar farms and the disposal of solar panels ultimately become a tax burden to the citizens of Buncombe County and North Carolina? If solar farms are to play a significant part in decreasing our dependence on fossil fuels, we need to work together to make sure they are done right. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Thank you. Bill Bussessi.
Hello, I'm Phil Bussessi, 15 Highview Drive. I wanted to speak last because I do have some very definite opinions on sustainable power generation. I think that every coal-fired and atomic plant should be replaced in its current location with solar farms. I see no reason why we should let for-profit companies not controlled by the Utilities Commission or anybody else develop power generation. With the exception, I think it's very important that if Ridgecrest would like to have power to serve Ridgecrest, that they have a solar system of their own to serve the neighborhood. That would be great. But allowing an out-of-state company to come in and build something on North Carolina land, and they're not even licensed to practice in North Carolina, is wrong. The other thing that's been driven home to me since my transmission failed, it's rather dangerous to walk in the streets around here. So I approached that from a human rights standpoint, saying I wish we would move as fast as possible to get sidewalks in this town. It's a human right issue. Second, it's something that will pay for itself very rapidly in energy conservation. Now, that doesn't mean that the person investing, the people building the sidewalks are going to get it, but each and every one of us citizens, by buying less gas, is going to save money. So sidewalks are the #1 energy conservation measure, at least according to the Association of Energy Engineers. According to GROW 350, GROW Western North Carolina, sidewalks are the #1 community building activity that we can do. So I'll have more to talk about as soon as the report from GROW Western North Carolina is here about how we can really vitalize this community. Carver Center is another one. It's underutilized. I'd love to see a master plan at least. I'd love to see just a set of drawings that different community people could sit down, hold a meeting, do some thinking, and write some notes. Thank you.
Thank you. This time we have communications from board and commissions. I don't think Ryan was able to be here tonight.
No,
so
sir.
he's give his report.
Right, he's not able to be here tonight, and so he sent a copy of his report, which I put in everybody's place. I won't read it to you. Everybody has in front of us a short synopsis of the planning board activities and the activities of the debt reduction committee. I would point out that at the end of this, you'll notice that Ryan has submitted his resignation from the planning board and the debt reduction committee effective immediately. I think one thing, as we've discussed, we should maybe do is have a roundtable discussion with the full debt reduction committee to discuss their proposals and so they can offer their ideas in terms of debt reduction for the town. And then at the same time, you'll need to at some point accept applications. Well, let me just say first that Ryan's role on the planning board, he was the chairman of the planning board. They'll need to reappoint a new chairman, and his term expires of July of this year. So you can accept applications, and we can bring that process back to you. But both of those positions will need to be filled at some point.
Okay, and you'll set up a round table.
Yes, sir. And I'll set that up.
reduction.
Darlene will get some dates out, and we'll set up something brief just to get those ideas back on the table.
I think the entire board has concern on that. Okay, Metropolitan Sewer District report, Bob Watson.
Good evening. It's good to have the opportunity to be back before you and talk about this. I want to break this presentation in basically 3 parts. First of all, we will look at the MSD board online on the internet, and like to highlight some things there for you. And we've got a short presentation, then we'll talk about this water consolidation issue that's I think really at the hearts of everybody's mind. This website provides a lot of good information. I'd like for you to hit financial, please, and go to annual budgets. All right, what I'd like for you to be aware of the fact is that there are 5 annual budgets on that website. So if you've got any questions about the annual budget, you can look that up on the website. Second of all would be go down to the performance report, the SPAR, which is the System Performance Annual Report.
Showing anything, Bob.
It's not showing us anything. Anyhow, this report is also on the web, produced annually, and feel free to look at that. And the last thing we want to go down and look at the very bottom is the water study. The water study that was commissioned by MSD board, the impact study, which I've got a copy of here, is also on the web. We'll talk about this in a minute, but look at this site. very interesting. There's a lot of information there. Stuff that we get, we put right on the web. We do have a short presentation. Darlene was nice enough to do this. And you can just start through this. Some of this we'll want to go over fairly quickly. Some of it you may have questions on. So if there's something there that you've got a question on, we talk about the table of contents. MSD organization consists of 12 members right now. Legislature has been introduced to expand that to 14, giving Henderson County 2 seats on the board. Henderson County would like to have 6 seats on the board. Currently, we're at 12. If we expand and take in Cane Creek, that would expand 14 seats. All right, go ahead.
Hold right there. Cane Creek, that's Fairview back over through there.
Cane Creek is Fairview. It's in Henderson County.
Okay.
Would represent about 6% of total customers for MSD, which would be very similar to what Black Mountain has. Like I say, legislature has granted them 2 seats. If they choose to come in, they want 6. So, some history. It was formed in '62 to create the treatment plant. In 1990, all the municipalities transferred the ownership of their collection system. Currently, there's 720 miles of small and large connectors, some of which were in poor condition. 5 municipalities: City of Asheville, Biltmore Forest, Black Mountain, Montreat, and Weaverville. 10 special districts. There's 3 from the City of Asheville, 3 from Buncombe County, 1 each from the 5 municipalities, and 1 from the Woodfin Sanitary District. Structure, I think you... a map of MSD. If you overlay the map of Asheville's water system, there's a lot of the area that's the same, but there's also a lot of the area that is not congruent there. 180 square miles, 51,000 customers. Sanitary sewer overflows is one of the things that drives MSD. Last year we had 24. There were 3 of them that exceeded 1,000 gallons, and they were typically in the Asheville area. Some of this is repetitive. Average response time of 36 minutes. If you have a sewer problem and you're not sure whether it's yours or MSD's, call MSD first. The average response time is 36 minutes. They will have a technician out there. He will evaluate the situation and then determine whether it's MSD's or the homeowners. And in some cases, they'll actually be able to help the homeowner out if it's a simple problem. But in this way, you don't call Roto-Rooter first and have Roto-Rooter tell you that it's really not your problem, and then there's a Roto-Rooter bill to pay. So call MSD first. ISO 1400 registered. The treatment plant with the flume going down to the power plant. Aerial photograph. Have the capacity to treat 40 million gallons with a peak of 65 million gallons. Average daily flow is 18 million gallons. I don't know what it was when Mike first started there. It was probably a good bit higher than that, wasn't it, Mike?
Not too much.
You had Gerber on there and several others, so we've lost a lot of industry.
And some infiltration.
We were up, I think, around 22, 23 million gallons a day.
Yeah.
So how does that compare to the amount of water that's being consumed through
That
asphalt?
probably represents
Half
probably
of
less than half, probably maybe even as low as a third of the total water.
Yeah.
Mainly because you've also got a lot of septic tanks out there
Right,
too.
right.
But yeah.
I just wanted to compare it.
One thing there to look at is 2 megawatt diesel generator backups. They were installed in 2012. In 2000, I think it was the Christmas of 2000 that we had the bad ice storm. MSD's generator failed. It cranked, but it didn't produce power, resulting in a pretty significant overflow. We have upgraded that to 4 megawatts. And the other thing we've done is we have put 2 power feeds into the plant. So if one of Progress Energy feeds goes down, it automatically switches to another feed. So the likelihood of an outage is greatly reduced, but it's one of the things that we've worked on in 2012. Okay. Historical picture of the old hydro plant. Save ratepayers about $311,000 a year. Variable speed turbines that are being repaired. In the plant operator, all 11 have grade 4 operation permits. All right. We're operating well below limits. Platinum performance for excellent wastewater treatment. 43.9% of the wastewater collection employees are grade 4. Some emergency response, we don't have it as much here, but to other sewer companies with major problems. Partnerships. Doing a lot more in-house cleaning of sewer lines. There was a point in which we had to contract a lot of that, but we're doing a lot more cleaning. We're doing more, that's not mine, but it sounds that way. All right, go ahead. Talk about capacity. Go ahead. Partnerships on some new interceptors. This is the West French Broad interceptor. Capital improvement over the next 10 years of $148.6 million. Pipe rating program. The big advantage to this and what it involves is actually going into pipe with a camera and determining what the quality is of that pipe. If we've got leaks, if we've got cracks, can we repair it with fold in place? Are there sections that don't need to be replaced at all? And that way, instead of replacing entire long runs of sewer, we can just go in and replace that section of sewer that's actually bad. So we reduce costs there. Again, cleaning and camera TVs. And they came out and ran the camera under Hyder's old building to see what shape that was, so we're willing to help municipalities. You can go on the GIS and look at any section of line or any manhole, and that's available online. I really can't read them.
It's fun till you got to the big words, right?
What?
It was fun till you got to the big words.
Yeah, till I got to the big words and couldn't see it, yeah. Got an award for pipe rating. Trenchless technology. One that saves cost, and particularly in downtown Asheville. There's places where the cost of dig and replace is just astronomical. People have built their buildings over the sewer lines. They planted trees over them. So pipe bursting is really been helpful. Budget revenues of $43 million. $25 million is from domestic. $13 million is out of available funds. Facility and tap fees, interest, and miscellaneous income and industrial use talks about where we get our money. Graph of the revenues. Expenditures, $8 million in debt service, $19 million in construction projects, $867,000 in capital equipment, and $14 million in operation and maintenance. Go ahead. Yeah, you can go ahead. Can't read that either. Domestic bills by year, an average of 5 CCF, which is 5 Asheville sells water in cubic feet, so that's 100 cubic feet of water. MSD is on the lower end of residential bills, according to NACWA. Outstanding financial report, just like the town. Talk about some of the things that we've done. We've got one coming up on Dillon Avenue. Go to the next one. Did it quit? No. It's that's a 4-inch between Pine and Oakland Street. Probably be done in 15 and 16. East State Street and West State Street, which is an extension of the project that was done in about 2004. That project was completed when Mike was on the board. That's replacing all the 4-inch line over around Lake Tomahawk. A little short stretch down on Dillon Avenue that's ready. All the engineering work's done on that one, so it could start next year or two. This is a project that Mike had pushed forward so we could complete the sidewalk project down on Neil Price. That's actually in Swananoa. That's been completed. All right, the water consolidation issue. Any questions on the slideshow there? Thanks, Darlene, I appreciate it. In May of 2011, Tim Moffitt introduced a bill to transfer the Asheville water system to MSD. City of Asheville had talked to Tim 2 days before, and there was no mention of this bill that he was going to introduce. He hadn't said anything to MSD, so it blindsided everybody. This bill was later changed into House Bill 925, which became a study bill. It was Tim Moffitt of District 116, which is on the southern end of Buncombe County, was the chairman. William Brawley, William Bryson, Chuck McGrady, who's out of Henderson County, and Tom Murray were the 5 people appointed to that study committee. The study committee is allowed to have 4 meetings by state statute. January 23rd, 2012, there was a meeting in a meeting in Raleigh. The city of Asheville sent a delegation down, MSD sent a delegation down, of which I was part of. And there was basically an all-day meeting in which MSD presented its organizational structure and what it did and how it did it. City of Asheville talked about its organizational structure. There was a lot of discussion of the Sullivan Act, both the original Sullivan Act, which was back in the 30s, which kind of resolved and came up with a way to get rid of the debt that was incurred after the crash. February 23rd, there was a meeting in Asheville in which all local parties were allowed to speak. It was held out at the Ag Center. Was there for that meeting. Virtually everybody there was against taking the water system away from the city of Asheville and giving it to MSD. The other thing in the study bill was it said that really had three options. One was to do nothing. Second of all was to give it to MSD. And the third option would be to create a third entity in which they would give both the water system and the sewer system to that entity. There were committee meetings on March 14th and April 19th in Raleigh. May 14th, 2012, a 51-page report was issued to the General Assembly from this study committee. Basically, the study committee said to give the water system to MSD, that it would consider a local alternative option if MSD and the city of Asheville could come up with an agreement. It also modified representation to MSD in House Bill 1009 to give Henderson County 2 seats if they chose to come into MSD. Now, prior to this, if Cane Creek came into the MSD or came under the authority of MSD, the city of Asheville would have lost 2 seats and Buncombe County would have lost 1 seat. So this new bill did facilitate the fact that we could bring Cane Creek in and not really upset the balance on the MSD board as far as Buncombe County having 3 votes and the city of Asheville having 3 votes. And they wanted to make sure that we took care of population shifts in Buncombe County, and they wanted Henderson County to be represented if they came in. And again, Henderson County wants 6 seats. We're not sure what legislature is going to do. MSD in an effort to have due diligence, which is a new word, I guess, to make sure that you covered your bases. You know, we called it other things years ago. Hired Malcolm Perney Arcadis to do a study, which again is on the web. I've got a copy of it here. Their study basically said that to consolidate the two, if we considered a consolidation, that it would have no impact on the sewer ratepayers. That the cost saving over 10 years would be a little over $10 million if MSD operated the water system. That it would keep the water rates as projected by the city of Asheville, is roughly 1.5–2% per year. That we could keep all Asheville employees and bring them up to MSD pay rates within 4 years. And that we would complete the $66 million in capital improvements over 5 years that the City of Asheville had proposed. So, since we had been instructed to try to work out a local solution, the proposal was made that the MSD would retain all water employees, subject to the same MSD personnel policies as MSD employees. That MSD would assume and pay off all outstanding capital water improvement, which was $71 million as of June 2012. That MSD to fund the city's newly increased 10-year CIP of $107 million. The MSD to officially oppose privatization of assets and operational control, which has been a touchword in this whole thing. Water to be eligible for the same MSD financing incentive and partnership for new public and private developments currently available for sewer. City of Asheville to retain title to Bee Tree and North Fork Reservoir, less the area underlying water operation facilities. MSD would lease for 199 years. The watershed, MSD would have operational maintenance and control over the watershed. And the water system would be compensated at a rate of $57 million to be paid over 50 years. That was approved by the board by a vote of 9-2, with 2 people being the City of Asheville employees voting in the nay. MSD didn't ask for this study. Didn't ask for this situation. We did ask for the study. MSD will probably have very little, if no control, over what the House does. But that's where we are now. We felt like that we needed to take a position, throw it out. We have not heard back from the City of Asheville with any response. Really don't expect to hear back from the City of Asheville. And since there was a referendum, even though it was a non-binding referendum, I don't know if the City of Asheville can answer us. But the word that we're getting from both Moffitt and McGrady is that we expect in the first quarter of this year for them to introduce legislation to give the water authority of the City of Asheville to MSD and give Henderson County somewhere between 2 and 6 seats on that board. So I guess I'll open it up for questions.
Questions?
Yeah, the most overriding question is why?
I don't know that there's an answer as far as I can find it somewhere. I think that the south end of Buncombe County has felt like they've been bullied by the City of Asheville. I think Henderson County feels like that they were misled by the City of Asheville when there was a water authority. I think that the Asheville Airport Authority is probably a mixing thing in the background.
It is.
And Moffitt doesn't like the City of Asheville.
The thing, and I made it mention at the last meeting, and of course you already touched on it when you said that the study bill had 3 options on it. The third option being that people need to understand that the state legislature, as Bob had said, that are created, MSD was created in 1962 by action of the legislature. The legislature can go ahead and dissolve MSD by act of legislature.
That's right.
And the thing that scares me the most on this whole situation is the fact that you go ahead and if this goes through and the bill and Moffitt and the rest of those guys down there, which is very interesting about how that, we want less government control, and yet here we are with the government down there telling us up here what we got to do. It's just absolutely ludicrous.
And
but what can happen then? But what can happen then is that once the water system is then put into MSD's control, that could be dissolved by the legislature, and the next thing you know, you have privatization of the entire both water and sewer systems.
That's right. Or that you totally get rid of MSD and create a Henderson Buncombe MSD. And what we haven't looked at is that Mars Hill may need water, So it could just as easily be to the north as it is to the south.
Well, for the water part of it, but Mars Hill, as far as the sewer thing, we would have to pump back down. We'd have to pump up the river.
Pump uphill, just like Weaverville
up river to get that sewage from Mars Hill.
But as far as water, Mars Hill may need water at some point,
Old County needs one.
Well, Hendersonville is already running water down the mountain.
Now, this is long-range planning here, folks. This is not just Tim Moffitt in there saying you don't like asphalt. This is a chess match that may take 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years to play out. And I say all that because I think and I think what this board needs to do maybe is to have a special meeting and sit down and talk about it, for us to take a position on it. Even though they had a referendum in Asheville on it.
Didn't do any good.
May not do any good, but the thing is that we can certainly let people know where we stand, because we are part of this. First of all, we're having to deal with MSD, and then secondly, we buy a good third of our water from the city of Asheville. So we are a player in this also.
Well,
and I think that it's imperative for us to take a stand and to voice our opinion, so that Bob can then go back and tell his board what this board has decided that where its position is on this.
Well, the meeting in Asheville at the Ag Center, we heard from Fletcher, we heard from Mills River, we heard from Asheville. Everybody was opposed to what's going on with this Tim Moffitt bill. And yet, they didn't listen to any of that. Now, there are pages of documentation about what the city of Asheville has done with water. They have controlled voluntary annexation. So has everybody else in the state. They have tried in periods of time to charge people outside the town a higher rate, which the town does, which Black Mountain does. But we're not under the Sullivan Act. Raleigh's not listening. Is because I've heard all these presentations. They're not listening. But, the town, I came back to Al and talked to Al to see whether the town wanted to be part of this study. And Al's communication with Tom Hardy was no. So there's feedback both through Al and through Matt, back and forth, continually.
Well, that may be between the town managers. That's not between the board in here.
That's right. That's right.
This is really the first time that we've ever had the opportunity to sit down and hear what's going on and discuss this in any responsible manner.
And I think the last two newspaper articles that came out probably 2 weeks ago were probably the two that
that came as close to being correct based on the information that I've seen. A lot of the stuff before that was hearsay and speculation and what's going on. So let me know what you want to say.
It appears to me that Henderson County would actually control before it's all over. If they get what they wish, and Moffett wants to give them what he would like to give them, they would have control of extension of lines, which is our bread and butter when we start willing to have growth. They could have control over that.
Well, I don't want to see Buncombe County ratepayers pay for development in Henderson County, which increases their tax base. That's just not the way the system needs to go.
Well, even when you were talking about all this, and even though MSD study talked about no, appreciable rate increase, the city of Ashland is going to be compensated for their assets, and someone's got to pay for that. And you alluded to 57 million there.
50 years.
Yeah, 50 years, but still though, we're still having to pay, and it doesn't matter whether you turn on your water and the city of Asheville runs it, or you turn on the water and Henderson County controls MSD and runs it. We're still paying the same. It's still the same water coming basically through the same lines, except this over here is going to cost more money. There's just no way.
It's being paid for twice.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make economic sense.
It doesn't.
Any other comments?
Thank you for this.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Matt, do you want to address the consent agenda?
Yes, sir, thank you.
You've got 4 items on the consent agenda. You've got the adoption of minutes from the December 6th and December 10th meetings of the board. You've got a recommendation to appoint Freddie Robinson to the Black Mountain Firemen's Local Relief Fund Board. We've got an approval of a transfer of $50,000 for operational costs at the Black Mountain Golf Course. We are contractually obligated to make that transfer.
Before you go on
yes,
on that 50,000, we are now up to what? That is now 150,000 that we had to give them.
I'm going to let Dean. I think what it is that we've done 150,000. We've gotten 50,000 back. Is that right, Dean? So this would make it
Yeah, 55.
Yeah.
This pumps it back up to 100.
So this puts it back at 100 then.
Yes.
back at 100.
Yes.
That's right.
Plus our $72,000 a year. Plus $6,000.
78.
Thank you.
Yep. And then finally, you've got a budget amendment to reflect POW bill expenditures. When we budgeted, we discussed this. We put all the money in the street department, and then as the eligible expenditures came due during the year, we now do a budget amendment to shift that money back. The POW bill money, of course, is the gas tax money that comes back to the town, and that's just a reflection of putting that in the proper department, the proper fund.
Okay. Any comments on that? Not, I'm going to call for a motion to approve those items as presented.
So moved.
There's been a motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. Motion carries 4-1. The public hearing. You want to address that resolution?
Yeah, you want me to do that first, or you want to open? Let me.
Yeah, let's talk about it first, and then I'll open it.
Okay. The first public hearing is to close the unopened but platted portion of Locust Street. That's recommended by the planning board. There's a new subdivision going there called Locust Springs. The right-of-way kind of winds through the subdivision. The road will still be there. It just closes the unopened portion of it and adjusts the road to meet the needs of the subdivision.
Okay, at this time I'll call for a motion to open for a public hearing on the unopened platted portion of Locust Street. For a motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Any comments? There being none, is there a motion to close the public hearing? So moved. Thank you. Any discussion?
discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion to adopt resolution R-13-01 as presented?
I make that motion as presented.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next, you want to address this one?
Yes, sir. What we have is a recommendation from the planning board to make a text amendment to the land use code. What we have now is for the appeal process, if there's a 30-day appeal process for an administrative decision and a 10-day appeal process for a notice of violation, I think that's created some confusion sometimes with how long somebody has to appeal a decision based on the zoning code, and so this makes all of it 30-day appeal process.
Good change. Is there a motion to open the hearing on the proposed text amendment for Land Use Code Appeal Section 1.10.6? So moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any comment?
It just makes sense to both of them be 30 days.
Yeah. Good change. Is there a motion to close the public hearing? So moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Is there a motion to adopt a statement of consistency as presented?
I so move.
In discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 0-13-01 as presented?
Make the motion that we
Adopt said ordinance.
yep, exactly.
In discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Ron, you have anything?
I have nothing new this night, Mr. Mayor.
Matt?
The only thing that I have, I would remind you again that tomorrow evening at the Carver Center, Grow WNC and the Blue Ridge Bike Plan are having a public input session from 5 to 7. I would encourage anybody to come out that wants to either get information or provide information on the bike plan for our area.
Any of the board members have any comment?
Yes, sir, I do. First of all, I'd like to thank Tom Gill and all of his work on the Town Square Steering Committee. I know this has been a long, arduous journey that you guys have gone through. I'd like to commend you on your dedication and what you've done. And I'd also like to challenge the town and the people who are supporters of the Town Square with this challenge. It's time to step up. Right now is the time to start buying bricks and the granite. And all those who are in favor and we're pushing the Town Square, it's now's the time. And again, Tom, thank you for everything that I've seen you do.
I think that goes for the entire board, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Any other comments? If not, there's no objection. I'll declare us adjourned.